interesting subject. I actually never worked on this particular category till I joined the cement business. I absolutely had no clue. Having worked on MNC products, it's always exciting, to work on shampoos and soaps, and you have the models and you have the films, a lot of exciting things happening. What I am planning to do is not take you through Gyan, but just represent the relevant case studies, successful case studies that have been part of my journey. Some disclaimers before we get into the actual presentation. Number one, this is purely an individual, that is me, and what I feel, think is what is being represented out there. In terms of what I believe in, what branding is all about, what marketing is all about. So it is my author's understanding. Let's identify and understand what's a low involvement category. Although I've given certain examples, like Biju and Mr. Reddy we were talking about. In India, we actually strongly believe in touch and feel. Mr. Batra asked him a question on why e-commerce is not taking off or whatever. We still pay by, on the net, would like to go to the shop. Is it an experience that I want to have at the store? Whether it's a product, whether it is house, like Mr. Reddy was saying, we are driven purely by emotions. We are purely driven by touch and feel. I would like to still go and see that product, feel the product. Look at the way banking is done today. Everything is answered over the phone. You don't have to physically go to the bank to do any transaction, right? As long as the things are going smoothly, I have a relationship manager, he's able to give me all the information, everything, from FD, put it back into my SB account, boss, I need some money. And if he's able to do it, everything is fine. The moment there is some problem in terms of a transaction, I do not have a phase to go back and talk to. We want somebody to be heard physically. So touch and feel is an important element. Now let's look at examples like steel, cement, these kind of things. You don't touch cement and steel and say, wow, it tastes like salt. Or it's like this. You don't see the benefit because these are all intermediary products. It's very, very difficult to measure the benefit. Bubblegum, for example, is a low involvement category. You can do without it. Just to perhaps add on retail format, which is extremely great learning for us when I was in cement industry, is we as consumers do not have the patience to travel more than a kilometer to procure any type of material unless, or goods, unless it is high price. So if a product is abundantly available in the vicinity, they're done. That product sells. So these are typical examples of high involvement and low involvement product category. The classic example again would be the salt. We all know that brand is just not a name. Then the brand started talking about the benefit, product benefits. They say that this brand, X brand, has got this sort of a performance. There are a lot of examples you can pick and choose. So it was more benefit driven, product driven, content driven. Today the brands are beyond products because performance has become a hygiene factor. If I were to buy a toothpaste and say that, look, it gives you a good smell, it will remain. Well, it's a hygiene factor. It's supposed to do that. I'm not going to take a bath with a soap, with a paste, or vice versa. It's supposed to do that. But what beyond? Pepsodent broke that particular myth and said, throughout the 24 hours. So there is something which is beyond the product benefit, beyond the hygiene factor. They started talking about that. They started talking about this is from the house of so-and-so, which stands for certain characteristics, which stands for certain values. They said they got into the social service campaigns. For example, Coke recently, they are into save the polar bear. It's got nothing to do with the product. Polar bear don't drink. If you have, many of you must have seen, they also came out with the commercial which had the polar bear drinking, and that was a beautiful graphic I don't know how many of you have actually seen it. It was a great hit. Today they are into a CSR, social responsibility, this thing of catering to polar bears, save polar bears. So it is beyond the product. So this is how the evolution of brands have taken place over a period of time. I don't know what's in store probably in the next 5-10 years. This is my statement, which says a brand should speak to the mind and the heart and just not talk about, it's supposed to do this and there it ends. Because we as Indians are very emotional. A brand usually gets known, it is known for something, it's known for good things, known for things that are different, because this is where the differentiation actually comes in. Many of the brands actually get lost here. They don't travel beyond this. It's because we think not as consumers, but we think as this is how the consumer is thinking or should be thinking. Are you getting the difference? I feel this is how the consumer thinks from my perspective. We don't think like a consumer. If I were to be this, how would I react? Is the simplest starting point in research. We don't. Or we don't go to many number of people through research again, trying to find out what is it that they do, what is it that they need. This is where the gap arises, and the successful brands or the products or the companies are the ones who get into the next stage of it's known for things that I care about, like the Coke example which I gave you. I might be, liking some sort of social campaign that is being done. I love that. It's close to my heart. Something to do with education, educating the poor. We all try to do, isn't it? We all try to do. We have a maid servant who has been dedicated. She's been very nice. We have left the house on her, and she's got a kid. She's not able to do that. She'll come, take the books, and I'll take up his education. I'll pay up the fees. Don't we all do that, or at least think to do that? So it's closest to our heart. So anything to do with that, it strikes. So the brands and the companies need to move beyond this point of known for things that I care as a consumer. Do you care? See, if a brand or a company, or Dalda, for example, Vanaspati is actually the word people forgot. It became Dalda. I remember from my childhood days, I kept on saying, it's like the typical sheep mentality, herd mentality. Dalda, Dalda. I realized one day that what is Dalda? It's nothing but Vanaspati oil. But it got branded. Was there a substitute at that point of time? No, but there are a lot of products available. They couldn't sustain it over a period of time. That's a different thing. But it became synonymous. So therefore, brands and products were endorsed. There was no mention of what the product is all about. But it's those emotional chord connect, they stuck that particular chord. So intangible long-term benefit, which is emotional feel-good factor, positive, beyond the product, one needs to think. So the positioning has to be completely different, away from the normal thing. It's very important to drive the perceived value. Now, how does the perceived value get into the consumer's mind? Is by the way, what kind of benefit which you are talking beyond the product. Either you have to demonstrate or it has to talk for itself. Quickly just touching upon marketing plan. This is my famous saying. I think my colleagues must have got bored about this. I keep talking about it. What got me there may not get us there, where I want to be, which is true for every brand and the product and the company. If we continue to do what we are doing, we'll continue to get what we are getting. So why crib about it? So if I want to get something better, I need to do something better, right? So I would like to share this thought. Please keep this thing in mind. For any advertising and marketing campaigns to be successful, if you keep doing what you have been doing traditionally, you will get the traditional results.